Hi, I'm Benjamin Stevens, and this is the Riverhead Raceway. The Riverhead Raceway is a historic quarter-mile-long oval and figure-eight track and the only true racetrack left on Long Island. The raceway was established all the way back in 1949 and officially opened in 1951. It started as a dirt track, but was paved upon coming under the ownership of Ed and Clara Hawkins in 1955. Eventually, in the 1970s, the Hawkins started leasing the track to Barbara and Jim Cromedy, who eventually bought the track outright in 1984. Today, the raceway has the reputation of not just the last true raceway on Long Island, it is also the only NASCAR-sanctioned track in the New York metropolitan area. However, the raceway didn't become an official NASCAR-sanctioned track until the Cromedys spoke with NASCAR's founder, Bill France Sr., in 1976, granting the track its status as an official NASCAR track. The track was then purchased by Eddie and Connie Partridge in 2015. Eddie Partridge passed away in September of 2021, leaving the track in the hands of Connie Partridge and his nephew, Tom Gatz. The raceway still operates, hosting races every year under the ownership of Connie Partridge and Tom Gatz to this day.
I try to tell people as often as I can, this place is we have what they call a racing family. And everybody looks out for each other, everybody helps each other. If you need a landscaper, someone will put out there, hey, who do we know in the racing community is a landscaper? And everyone tries to work together and help each other, and they're ready to kill each other some nights in those pit areas. But if that person needed somebody, someone in this place would help. It's just one big family.
The man you just heard from is Stephen Halpin, the announcer at the raceway. He can typically be found here in the control tower. Halpin has worked as the raceway's announcer for 25 years, starting in 1992 and having taken a break from the role for a few years. As a child, his father worked on race cars for drivers at the local racetracks, so he spent a lot of time around the raceway, never missing an event. Eventually, he became friendly with the previous announcer at the raceway, Bob Finning, who offered him a job at the raceway as the new announcer, which he took.
It's been great. It's been great. My whole life is based around this racetrack. My best friends, my family, my wife I met here, my kids come here with me all the time. All my closest friends and the people that I affiliate with, even right down to my job, has all come from this racetrack.
That's not all, as Halpin has 3 sons, 2 of which race at the raceway, one of which can be seen here racing his blue number 21 car.
My middle guy, Reed, won his 2nd consecutive championship in the Bandolero Bandits. My little guy, Dax, they ran a beginner division last year, and he was the championship guy in that one. So it's been fun. They've won 11 races in the last 2 seasons.
The Halpins aren't the only racing family at the raceway.
We're racing cars and practicing.
This is the Van Houten family, made up of Brad Van Houten and his 3 children, Chase, Leighton, and Kendall Van Houten, all of which race.
We go to a bunch of different tracks. Here we do a trip to Florida, we race in Connecticut. It's just, honestly, it's time that I get to spend with my children one-on-one, and we're rooting each other on. We're competitive with one another. Sometimes get under each other's skin a little bit, but overall it's an experience, and we do it together.
Racing has been in the Van Houten family for a while, as Brad became interested in it because his dad raced in the 70s. And now Brad's own kids have followed suit. This story of people getting involved in racing through their family seems to be a common one at the raceway. Here's Tom Gatz, the promoter and partial owner of the raceway, speaking on how he got involved with racing.
Really through my uncle. He had a passion for it, and he had race teams that were on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, and I just kind of followed him, throughout the years, and just formed the passion of it through him.
We race legend cars, the 3 of us here, and then the little one here races what's called the Bandolero.
A Legends car is basically like It's I don't even know what to say. What even is it?
It's made by the company of Inex. It's a fabricated chassis.
It's made by a company that runs the series, and they made up these cars, and they're all innovation has been very clear, as you can see over the years. They've gotten water-cooled motors from air-cooled, and they just keep. I don't know what I'm gonna say.
They keep making them better and better. Essentially, they're little fabricated chassis made by a company in North Carolina. They're all basically a spec chassis. The rules are very tight, and you show up to a track. There's 30 to 40 of them. They're motorcycle engines. They weigh about 1,300 pounds, and they're a lot of fun to drive. A Bandolero is essentially a hybrid. It's half go-kart, half legend car. So it's a solid front axle, and it has coilover springs in the back with like a go-kart solid axle, with essentially a souped-up lawnmower engine, for lack of better words.
The aforementioned Legends cars and Bandolero cars are special, as people of age 10 and up are allowed to race Legends cars, and children as young as 7 can race Bandoleros.
I'm 19.
I'm 9.5.
I'm 17.
And I'm 47.
I raced go-karts at 12, and I started racing Legends at 15, 16, so...
16.
Yeah.
How long have you been racing?
I started last year and just kept racing this year.
So it's her second year, and she's 9 now.
This will be my 3rd year in the Legend cars, but I raced go-karts when I was a little boy, like 7 years old. But Legend cars are fun, tight fields, a lot of cars, a lot of good competitive racing, and it's always good to, get hairy out there sometimes.
I've been racing 25 plus. That's all I'm going to admit to.
Too long.
A very long time.
At this point, one might wonder about what goes into getting an entire family and their cars ready to race.
A lot of work.
Hours and hours. And
Dedication.
check, cash, all the money you can think of. It's
a grind.
It takes you all winter long to prepare your cars to get here, and sadly, you could be rebuilding the car in 30 seconds. You can be wrapped up in something where it destroys the car and go back home and rebuild it and come back and do it again.
One of the advantages to standardized race cars, like Legends cars and Bandoleros, is that the rules for those kinds of racing are the same no matter what racetrack you go to. So people that own them are able to go all over the world, racing all different racetracks that offer those kinds of racing. But how easy is it to get into racing in the first place?
It all comes down to how much money you have, because it's all about money. Enduro cars are far less expensive because you're just going to a car that you were going to junk, or you're going to a car that was going to be, there's guys that have tons of money into their enduro car. But then there's other guys that come out and just have a good time. We have a 4 and 6-cylinder enduro, which are little Nissans and Hondas and stuff like that. Great divisions. The people that race them are outstanding. They're their own little racing family. Just a great group of people. We also do pickup trucks. We have a truck enduro division too. So to get started, there's so many different, we have about 14 different divisions here that you can run. And we don't run them every week. We mix them up. And, we try to have something for everyone. And advancement isn't too crazy dollar-wise until you get up into the late models and the modifieds.
Speaking of enduro racing, this is Steve Neenan, a driver who races in the 8-cylinder enduro division, who will tell us about his enduro car.
2011 Ford Crown Vic, formerly a police interceptor from upstate, and I got it and turned it into what it is. Had to take all the glass out of it, all of the lights, the interior. That's about it, I think. Anybody can do this. Anybody can take this car, any kind of car like this, strip it down and show up and have fun.
All that being said, what is it actually like racing at the raceway, and what's the attitude among racers?
You get multiple types. Some guys are happy to be out there just riding around in circles. Some guys and gals they are so set on winning that second place they consider themselves the first loser. There's so many different facets of it. I mean, I look at my son, perfect example. In a Bandolero, if he doesn't win, he's upset. But in a legend car, he's just trying out. So if he can just finish the race, that'd be great. So the attitude changes based on the person and the situation, really.
We have some good, steady stuff here. You know, nothing worse than racing somebody that you know you can beat. You want to have a good adversary.
The man you just heard from is Mark Mina, the team owner of MSM Elite Motorsports.
Oh, we love it. It's you know, a hometown track. A lot of people are friends, and some people aren't. You know, it's just the way it goes. You know, we race hard. There's a lot of long-term drivers here, but every year some new ones come in and some old ones go out.
MSM Elite Motorsports races NASCAR Modifieds, which is one of the major kinds of racing offered at the Riverhead Raceway. Speaking of which, how many kinds of racing are offered at the raceway? Well, there's the different kinds of NASCAR racing, like streak stocks, mini stocks, late models, and the modifieds, like what MSM races. The raceway also has the aforementioned Legends racing, Bandolero racing, and the different kinds of enduro racing. That's not all though, as they also occasionally have special things in events, like monster trucks, demo derbies, school bus racing, and big wheel tricycle racing.
And that's still not all the kinds of racing offered.
That's a lot of kinds of racing, but is it common for people to advance from one kind of racing to another and maybe even achieve fame racing professionally?
You have guys all over the country, guys and girls all over the country that start in the Bandoleros, that move their way up. Absolutely. Ryan Priest started in a quarter midget, and he almost won last week at Talladega. From Long Island, we haven't had many racers that have become famous or gotten to that upper echelon, but we've had them run. Justin Bonsignor, who's the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion, who lives right in Wading River here. He's been running for Joe Gibbs Racing. He's got about 9 races this year, doing an excellent job. So you do have moments like that. But again, unfortunately, a lot of it's not based on talent anymore. It's based on money. And Justin is probably one of the more talented drivers to ever come out of here. He started here in a go-kart. That's where he first started, and he's won the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour Championship 3 times, I believe. He's the defending champion, and now he is running in the Xfinity Series, which is one level below the Cup Series in NASCAR's upper echelon.
I know her end game is she want to drive a modified, so this is the start, and then the end game is a modified once she get older.
That was Tyrone Ligon talking about his daughter Aria, who has raced at the raceway for 3 years.
When I was young, I would come here because I'm originally from Riverhead. I brought my daughter. Then we seen these cars. I asked her, does she want to drive? She said yes.
It's been pretty good. I'm placing pretty good, like more where I want to be.
Yeah, we had a parts failure last race. Today we got it together, so we should do pretty good today. Everyone's friendly, as far as in the Bandolero group, as far as all the races. If anybody needs help, we all lend a hand to help.
Now that we've talked about the different kinds of racing, what about the cars themselves? What separates a purpose-built race car from an everyday commuter vehicle, like my mom's Prius, for example? Here is Ed Chakowski, the mechanic from MSM, to tell us about just that.
Oh, it's a lot. There's a lot of geometry, there's setups, a lot of high-performance parts. As you can see, the tires are very big and wide compared to your mother's Prius, and there's no tread on them for maximum traction. The chassis is offset, you can see. The driver's to the left side. If you see the motors, a little move to the right so he can see. You got to have your setup. You make sure you have tire stagger. That means the right sides are bigger than the left sides. And then it's basically caster, camber, everything. And you got to be able to bump and bang, because that's what happens out here in the bull ring, man.
There's a bit more to these cars than even that, as they are built on top of a specialized chassis made for racing. And they use spec motors built by General Motors and Robert Yates Racing, specifically for NASCAR, and produce around 630 horsepower, which is about 3 times what a Prius makes. These engines, of course, run on gas. But what about EVs? Could an electric race car ever have a place at the Riverhead Raceway?
Electric vehicles, they've tried it. They've tried it in NASCAR Cup Series. They've tried it, just the batteries alone and what it would take to operate one of those cars, and the cost to build them is astronomical. So I would be shocked if EV vehicles. Now there's some races, some divisions that run all electric. I don't think it'll ever happen on a local level for us. No. Yeah, they're heavy. The batteries are heavy. On impact, the batteries are dangerous. So I would be shocked if it ever became something normal.
Jakowski has a similar opinion on the matter.
It's people come for the sound, the smell. Nobody wants to hear that. They come here for the noise and the smell of the fuel burning. That's what makes racing.
Speaking of the noise and smell,
at the raceway, you kind of experience this with all of your senses. You don't just hear the cars screaming past you. You also hear their tires. You smell the tires burning. You can smell the race fuel. It smells different than normal car exhaust. It smells almost sweet, almost kind of like corn. And then beneath you on foot, you have these chunks of rubber all over the ground from the car's tires. You can't really escape being at the raceway. When you have your eyes closed, you still feel like you're at the raceway because you just hear it, you feel it, you smell it.
And speaking of the experience at the raceway, what is the day like for a race car driver or racing team that attends an event at the raceway? Well, first, they have to get into the raceway.
I'm here at the Riverhead Raceway right before one of the raceway's many races. Well, you can see behind me here hundreds of trucks, hundreds of race cars lined up waiting to get into the pit area here at the Riverhead Raceway. They like to get here early just so that they can get into the pit, start working on the cars, get not just the cars ready, but themselves ready as well for the upcoming race.
And then the pits, what are they like?
So I'm here at the pits today at the Riverhead Raceway, which is essentially the behind-the-scenes area here. This is where drivers and race car teams take their cars to work on them before and after races and practice days, which is essentially what you can see happening behind me here. There's tons of teams here working on their cars, fine-tuning them, making small adjustments, fixing things, just to get that little bit more prepared for the upcoming race today.
After getting into the pits, there is then practice for the drivers.
If you show up early to the Riverhead Raceway on any day they're having an event like I have today, you can witness what is happening behind me, which is practice for the drivers. Some drivers, they just want to get a little practice in, while others may have never raced here in their entire lives. So they want to get used to what the track is like and how their cars handle on it.
I mentioned before that the Riverhead Raceway is the only true raceway left on Long Island. Many people don't realize that Long Island actually has a long history of racing, with the first ever international automobile race in the United States, the Vanderbilt Cup, being held on Long Island. So what happened to racing on Long Island?
Early on, there was 14, 15 tracks on Long Island, and it slowly, quickly actually, reduced down to where we had 3 with Freeport, Islip, and Riverhead, along with the West Hampton Dragway. Bridgehampton was a road course, so Bridgehampton is now a golf course and a housing community. Freeport became a Caldor back then, which is now a Kohl's. Islip is a cookie factory, and the only one left is Riverhead. And that's since 1985 on the oval track side. West Hampton Dragway, 1992 or 94, I think, that closed down, or that might have been Bridgehampton. And the drag strip closed down, I think, late 90s, early 2000s. So basically the only place you can go race right now is here at Riverhead.
How is it that the Riverhead Raceway has survived all this time while its contemporaries have disappeared?
Fortunately enough for us, Barbara and Jim Cromedy owned this facility for close to 50 years. And they sold it to racers. Eddie Partridge, Connie Partridge, and their nephew Tom Gatz, who own it now. Unfortunately, we lost Eddie. But they bought it. The Cromedy sold it for the sole intention to keep it as a racetrack. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sold it.
So, how have things changed at the raceway under different ownership? And how have the drivers dealt with these changes?
There's always different things and different ways of doing things, but everyone adapts. You know, this is the last place on Long Island that we can run. So you basically adapt to whatever whatever new ownership and new management, whatever they come up with, you adapt because you don't want to. It costs you thousands and thousands of dollars to leave Long Island, to go race in Connecticut, to go race in Pennsylvania, to go do that stuff. So you want to stay in your own backyard. So you adjust to whatever they have, and that's how you do it.
How come so many racetracks have been shut down? Is racing not profitable?
It's not that it's not profitable, but you have, for us here, we have 20 days to make money. That's it. Property taxes are $100,000 a year on this piece of property, I'm sure. You have 20 days to make that money because they only give you a certain window for a schedule. They don't let you run all year. They don't let you run in the winter. The town, who is very generous to us and lets us do a lot of things, but for their people in this area, there's a housing development right behind us here. They have to have some sort of control, and that control is you get 24 dates. You use those 24 dates, and that's it. So you have to make all your money in those days. That's your insurance, your payroll, pay out the purses, and then pay your taxes. So it's not, you're not making $1 million owning a racetrack. When we do monster trucks, fireworks, stuff like that, you can't get a seat in this place. It's packed. But the old, die-hard race fan, there's not a lot of them left on Long Island. Because again, they kept closing all those racetracks down. You look back at pictures of Islip Speedway, you couldn't see the grandstands. They were so full. We don't have much of that nowadays.
What about racing as a whole on Long Island? How has it evolved?
How's it evolved over the years? I mean, I think it's a lot has stayed the same. I think the competitors are really, passionate about the sport, competitive. My team is really passionate and competitive. As far as evolution of it, a lot more to do with streaming. A lot of races are streamed on social media. A lot of things are promoted on social media. I mean, evolution of racing, I don't know if there's really been an evolution. There's been technology, there's been a lot of technology changes, in racing. But really the heart and soul of the facility is the team and the racers and the fans, We're a family-friendly facility, and my kids come here, they race. They're 9 and 11 years old. They race in the Bandolero division, and it's a special place.
This year, 2025, is special for the Riverhead Raceway, as it is its 75th anniversary. So what's in store for the Raceway this year?
For the 75th year, I think it's great. There's not a lot of tracks that have the longevity that Riverhead has. And to us, you don't even add up the years. You just keep coming back because you can't stay away. But at 75 years is a great accomplishment. So it is. I think it'll be a great year. I think that we'll have a good car count. We'll have full stands this year, and I look forward to the 75th anniversary. We're going to be doing a lot of celebrations towards it, and I think it'll be a great thing for us.
And finally, what does the future hold for the Riverhead Raceway?
We'll be here for many years to come. We're having a lot of fun. As I mentioned, my daughters are 9 and 11 years old. They run the Bandoleros, the Inex Bandoleros, and they're enjoying themselves and having a great time. So.
I think the future is, as long as these owners own this facility and they want to keep racing, we'll keep racing. But if they get to the point where it's not profitable or it's something that they don't want to do anymore, I don't know who's left to buy this facility and run it where the town's going to be into it, where, and I think the current owners would do their best to make sure that someone was going to keep it a racetrack if they were ever going to sell it. And I have no idea if they ever would, but if they would, I think that would be their goal, to keep racing alive, and that's what they would try to do here.
This has been Benjamin Stevens.